Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Crossover Deep Dive. Today, I am excited to have as my very special guest, Stephanie Horowitz Mulry. Hi, Steph.
Hi, it's so nice to be back.
Yes.
Nice to see you.
It's so good to have you in person again. And of course, everyone on this channel has seen very recently that Stephanie was the winner of our first star competition. So we're kind of in that season again. So it feels really good and appropriate to have you back. So Steph, I feel like it's been almost a year.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm shortening it to Steph. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. One of my good friends is Stephanie, so it's just like going off. What have you been doing in this year since?
A whole lot of stuff. Mainly, I started as the cantorial soloist for Temple Bethel in Great Neck, New York. So that's been a wonderful, new project. And I get to sing every week almost, and I get to write music for them when they have been really nice about that. So I'm really enjoying that. Plus, I've been working on my own songwriting, and I've done a couple of retreats for that. And it's been a really nice year of trying to focus and just get my career stuff together, basically.
And one of the things I think we talked about last time is how you were going to start showing all the parts of who you are. And so I went on your website this morning just to check things. And it was so cool because I saw all these tabs and it had classical, it had theater, it had jazz. So you're just putting it all together now, which is great.
Yeah, I got a new website. It's under construction, so not every one of those has a full
Yeah,
yet.
It's being built. That's fine.
But yeah, I want to be just kind of plain about what I do. I used to be a little more hidden because I wanted to be taken seriously as a classical singer.
Yeah.
And at the time, and maybe still, I don't know, people were frowning upon the diversification that I wasn't committed enough. And now I just don't care. And I just want to do what I want to do. So I'm being very honest and upfront about it and just putting it all out there. And then people can, pick and choose what they want to listen to and whatever they need.
Yeah, I feel like, if an artist puts out a song I don't like, I just don't listen to that one song. Yeah. You can listen to the others. So I'm really glad you're doing that. But you mentioned the cantorial, which is awesome because I feel like as singers, that's a job. I don't know if the audience knows, but a lot of us do is we get these jobs in either churches and choirs. And so tell us a little bit what you have to do to prepare to be a cantorial singer.
Okay, well, a full-time cantor is not what I am. Full-time cantors actually go for a 5-year program, and they learn how to speak Hebrew, and they move to Israel for a year, and they get ordained. So they're actually religious clergy.
Okay.
I am not that. I have been a cantorial soloist for about 15 years, mostly during the High Holy Days. So I learned a lot of the music that cantors would do. And the same way you would prepare for an opera role, you translate, you work on the language, you work on the phrasing. It's different styles of music. So there is that kind of traditional cantorial classical style, which I love. And then there's also all this great music that's been written in the last 40 years that's a little bit more folk based or a little more modern sounding. So I really get to use the crossover things that I love to do even within one service. So basically we have a meeting on Mondays, and they're going to laugh that I'm talking about it. We decide the parts of the service that we do, and there's these kinds of prayers. They say which prayer setting would we want to use, what holiday is coming up, what event is there, who's coming to guest speak or whatever, and we kind of gear it towards that kind of mood that we want to evoke. So that's me, the pianist who's also our music director, and the two rabbis. We kind of have this team thing. We pick the songs.
That's so cool.
And then I will, check in throughout the week, just making sure I know everything. Sometimes I have to learn something new. Sometimes I end up writing something new, and they've been pretty good. And I'll be like, you don't have to use it, but it just came out, and here it is if you want to use it. And sometimes they do, and that's great. So we're going to be, I'm going to be presenting a couple of those today, but yeah, it's just fun. And then when it's holidays, it's a little more work intensive because there's more music to do and more specific to that occasion that we wouldn't just do every week. But yeah, I'm having a really good time with it. It's the community is wonderful. They've been very welcoming to me. So that's been a nice little ride this year, and I get to work with a really wonderful team. We have a choir director too, which is great, and an organist sometimes.
And is it kind of call and response where you're singing, or is it mostly you're a soloist and they listen?
That's really interesting. Most of it is sing along, I would say. It's like I'm gonna do it, and they're welcome to sing along with anything.
Yeah.
Some of it has that call and response, and so we will actually like go in and teach it, and that will be fun. You know, I started out as a music teacher, so I feel comfortable.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
let's learn a song together. So it is like some of the more traditional stuff during the holidays they don't sing along to, and it's just more soloistic. But a lot of it is we really want people to be involved. We have a very musical congregation, so they know a lot of music, and we like to keep everyone involved.
And very communal worship. It's beautiful. So tell us, you mentioned writing things. Does that inspire you to want to write? Because I know like organists, if we think of the great example of Bach, right? Every week he had to write something new, which is crazy. I don't know how he did that. But for you, is it kind of like knowing that there's a service every week, does that make you want to?
It does, because I never like decided I was going to write for the temple. I just was like, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be influenced by it, and it's just going to start happening. And like lo and behold, in the first few months it did. Because I would say, like, I would learn all these different settings of the prayers, and I would kind of say, there's some take on this prayer that I don't think has been quite expressed the way that I think of it. And so, especially, I was looking for this one prayer one time as an anthem, which is more of a soloistic part after the sermon. And I wanted to say those words, but not in the way that the main version says them. And I kept looking and looking for another version, and there like wasn't one. And I just was like, let's just do it. And then one night while I was falling asleep, it sort of came, and I had to wake up and sing it into my phone really quiet. And then the next day I went to temple, and I'm like flirting with this idea. And I played it for them, and they're like, you should do that. And so during the break between the rehearsal and the service, I wrote it out so that the pianist could play.
I love that.
So they've been really great about letting my crazy brain do things sometimes. But yeah, no, it is. It's like knowing that it's coming and my mind is in that, it'll just start happening. Whereas like if I went away somewhere else and was like influenced by that, it would probably be writing more of that stuff too.
Yeah.
So like surroundings are a big thing.
Oh yeah, I get the inspiration for it. And then you mentioned these songwriting retreats. So tell us what that's like, because obviously you've been songwriting for a while. You talked about like kind of getting over the school mentality and realize, let me just make stuff. Let me get out there and do it.
Yeah.
But what is it now like? Because you are a writer and you're going to these sessions and collaborating with other musicians.
Part of it is if I'm going away and I want to have like leisure, I will carve out some time to just sit in a beautiful spot. And like, if that becomes my personal songwriting retreat, cool. Like, I went with my husband to one of the cons. He's a con guy, like a Comic-Con guy.
Yeah.
And so we went out here to Connecticut to Mohegan Sun. And so he went, I didn't go. And so I sat out on the patio with a little wine, and I had a lot of music to learn for Temple. And I was like, I'm going to sit here and learn music, and I'm going to make notes about what I want to write. And then, you know, I ended up writing it later, but I had all the notes. Then they were nice enough to send me to a cantorial conference thing. And there were songwriting components to that. And so I just elected to always do those. And so I got to work on especially one or two of my songs with like other cantors, which was cool. They got to like put their input on, like, you know, in this prayer, this line is more important than this line, so you should do a little more to emphasize that. And because I'm not like, I don't come from the clergy background, I wouldn't have thought of it that way. So it was great to get that feedback and that kind of community from really wonderful people who just want to write. It's not about their ego or anything. They just want to have a nice community thing. So it was really nice to be in that environment. And then I went on another trip for my stepsister's wedding. And so it was like really beautiful, like country scene. And I was like, I'm just going to sit out on this patio and I'm going to write something. So just taking time. I'm not great at doing that in the regular day. This is what I'm working on now, is to like always find time to just sit and be quiet, which like nobody wants us to do.
Yeah.
And I am a bit of a people pleaser still. And I want to do everything I have to do. And I want to get all my like to-do list done, and it's hard to just unplug. And I have to carve out that time, even if it's just to get out like the chatter brain and like write that down so it's out of the way, and then you can sort of think clearer. So I think 1 day retreat, 5-minute retreat, it's all necessary and good.
Yeah, so finding those moments of quiet is really difficult, both as people in just general, but also think as women when there's so much expectations of us. And also I feel like just finding time to be like good to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're an independent musician. It feels like, okay, I need to now do my website. Now I need to do this. Like,
we're everything. We're every hat. But the other thing too, wait, I had this idea that it went away. It's okay. We want to do the things we have to do, and then we want to do the things we want to do. Okay. And I'm actually noticing in myself, like I'm a consumer of a lot of like content, like online.
Yes.
I'm constantly like checking what's on Facebook, what's on Instagram, what's on TikTok, what's on everything. I just want to know. And I'm realizing that a lot of that is impeding the creative process, because I just watched this video from one of my coaches on like what is around you can make you healthier or sicker, basically.
Yes.
And I'm kind of like, if I'm consuming things that are like shocking my nervous system, it's making me on this way, on the way I don't want to go. And how good is that for my creativity if I'm like, I'm going to become preoccupied with some issue? And we should be up on the issues, and we want to know what's happening in the world. But there is a point where we reach a level of fatigue about it.
Yeah.
And I think at that point it becomes detrimental to our health. And I have been really trying to limit that amount of like, because you care, we're empathetic people, you know, but there has to be that boundary of where self-care starts to be eroded. And that's my new thing. I'm going to try to hold myself to it.
No, that makes total sense for me, because it's a bit of the doom scrolling.
Yes.
And I don't know, for me, like just yesterday, I was like, I finished painting my living room, which I don't know why I decided to do this. But anyways, awesome. And then I was like, there's a new show on Netflix with Love Megan. It's just like cooking and like crafting.
Oh, is it like, Meghan Markle?
Megan
of Sussex?
And I was like, yes, that's right, Megan of Sussex. And I was just like, I'm just going to make a meal.
Okay.
Not like actually, you know, like you don't have to be that productive all the time. You can
and
just
a meal is productive, and
it
it's
is,
self-care.
but it's like self-care. I don't know. I feel like I don't cook for myself.
No,
I don't know if
don't
you feel
either.
the same way.
No. If it's like, I'm not a huge cook. My husband's an amazing cook, but again,
Nice.
we're running around, so we don't do it a lot. But yeah, those times where I'm like, I'm gonna make a flatbread, but I usually will like have something on and listen to it, or you know, while I'm doing that too, and I need to just tune out and cook.
Get those times of silence to get inspired and get back to it.
Yeah, because if you're doing something creative, like cooking is creative, like and so
different part of the brain.
I actually wrote a song one time when I was in a songwriting class, and it was like, write this by the end of the day or whatever, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I just started like narrating what I was doing, and I was making pasta, and I was like, we're gonna stir it up now, baby. We're gonna add some heat now, baby. And we're gonna let it simmer, yeah. Like, and I started writing this song called like Recipe for Loving You or something. It became like really funny. And I played it for my friend at the end of the night. He was like, this is good. And then I'm like, whatever. I just had to get it done. But so like if you just let your mind be vacant for a second, like something good will pop in.
Get fulfilled again, and then have the energy to start
your
creating.
hands, so we're not like, you know, doing tedious work.
Yes.
We're, like kind of have our body in the process.
So I know, okay, we mentioned classical, theater, jazz, but you also have a pop side.
Yeah.
So you also are going to be releasing some pop music soon. So tell us about your new single.
So it's a song that we wrote 2 years ago, and I just wanted to express my kind of woo-woo metaphysical side.
Yeah.
And I think now seems like not a good time to release that. And that's exactly why I have to. Because it's like, don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to this. Like, you can put that down and you can just have a good time. And that's an act of rebellion, right? And it's not, I think, I don't want to be like toxically positive, but at a certain point, there is a toxic negativity and you can put that down. So it's just about like vibes and manifestation and this kind of like neo-disco fun moment. So I'm excited to release that. We've been just like waiting for a time when it seemed right, and it seems right now, like when the weather's going to get better.
Can do a fun video for that.
I miss the joy that, like, all social media started out as like stupid joy. Like, remember? Sorry, I'm like fussing with it.
When it was dogs and cats videos, nice things.
Remember the beginning of YouTube? I was in college when YouTube came out because I'm old. But it was just like, it was YouTube. It was random people doing random stuff. It was like the beginning of TikTok.
Yeah.
And it became like this joyous, like, hi, I'm sitting with my friend. We're going to lip sync to Bye Bye Bye. Or whatever, you know, and so, and then TikTok became that. And then it seems to have turned again. And now everything's, so I made it my platform to say, there's enough people doing the doom and gloom. I want to put back some joy, or at least irreverence. I'll take the bad thing and kind of twist it on its head and make it a joke and make fun of it, so that we can all move on. Because we are very privileged. Like, we live, you know, in a place we can move on. We can have normal lives mostly, and our sitting home and suffering doesn't actually help the people that need it. It's up to us to like do actions and not sit at home and just feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can actually be of more service if we are not in that headspace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what time do we need, like you said, joy? Do we need art?
Yeah.
Than right now when things are heavy. Right.
And I think the first thing to go is like funding for the arts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you really think about that, it's almost like they don't want us to know the power that we have. Mm-hmm. And so we have to keep making art, whether it's funded or not. And that's, I think, our responsibility as creative people. And we'll find a way to fund it. Like, you know what I mean?
I know. It's a challenge, but one of the things we're excited about, of course, is we're bringing Star back.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm so excited.
I'm excited to see the new voices, the new takes on things. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious from your perspective, if you were, telling someone they're going to try out, would you give them any advice?
I would.
Okay.
I would say, don't use a video that you've already made for something else. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I watched all of them. And I think the ones that really connected with me the most was like someone in a space where it was like, I am singing to you. This is my, almost like an audition style video rather than a music video.
Yeah.
That's, and the music videos were wonderful and like beautifully produced and everything.
Yeah.
But I think for this competition to show like the raw talent and
I love that.
I gravitated more towards those, and I feel like the panel did too, because that was the feedback that I got, was that they liked that I just stood and sang to camera from like my washroom.
Exactly, because that's one of the things I was saying when I was sharing about the guidelines for it, is like, you don't need to have a fancy production. I mean, if you have one in your home, great, use it. But you can have a phone and you can just share your voice. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sometimes the best way for us to see who you are.
I had to do many takes because my cat would get in the shot. That's what I would say. And I would say, if you have music that you've written, bonus, because who's writing crossover music? Like, it's not a lot of people. And it's a beautiful, wonderful thing that I would love to see, carry on. Like, I feel like the sound of a beautiful voice is not like in style right now, or in vogue.
Yeah.
And I want to see it make an appearance in different styles of music. So if you have written something, yay. Or if you have a beautiful take on something. Someone did a really, really wonderful like mashup of 2 songs that I liked.
Yeah.
Like that creative kind of aspect. So anything that sets you apart, I would do. Even if you think it's like off the path, I would say try it. And I'm happy to talk to anyone if they want to message me. I'll give my feedback.
Yeah, no, but it's true, because crossover is so broad. So it's really hard to even say, is this not crossover? So do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Make it your own. So I'm curious for you. You mentioned teaching. I know that's still a big part of your life. what do you say to your kids? Because I'm sure that, something like Wicked will come out and, everyone's excited about Wicked. They all want to sound like either Ariana or Cynthia,
right?
But maybe not like themselves because they're trying to be that. So what do you say to bring that out of them?
We do have that a lot. Everybody wants to sing. Everyone wanted to sing Defying Gravity before, but now it's like on overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
So
new ending, new call.
Yeah, exactly right. And so I'm usually a person who will just let them do it and see what happens.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Unless I know that this particular person is like pushing their voice and I don't want to give them an opportunity to do that to the extreme. So then I'll be like, let's try something else, or, try maybe like I'm Not That Girl or Popular, something like a little more light. But I tend to just want to hear what they have in mind. And a lot of times they surprise me. And a lot of times we can talk about chest dominant singing and how to do that in a healthy way and like all the misconceptions about it.
Yeah.
Because that is work that I love to do and I'm working on myself. And I feel like we teach what we best need to learn.
Yes, that is so true.
And so that is, I have studied this at length because it wasn't the way I was brought up.
Well, because classically, you're not supposed to use chest. There was a lot of fear about you're using chest, you're going to damage your voice.
At all, right.
Yes.
Yeah. And I still battle those ghosts a little bit, like, you sure want to do that? And then I found the placement with a wonderful teacher that I have, and I felt the placement. I'm like, oh, that's the place they say never to place your voice. I'm like, well, you would never place it for, to sing Lauretta. Of course, you should not place it there.
Yeah.
But for other things, you should. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to be open-minded. If I won't let them do anything I know is hurtful, or we'll like talk about why, and maybe we'll bring a key down, make it accessible for them in some way, or even just like let them head voice the whole thing. If they don't need it for anything, then it's just fun.
I like that you said moving the key downs because I still have such I don't know what it is. Like I'll do it, but then I feel so guilty. That
I do too. I don't like to do it for myself. I'm like, no. But
it's
fine.
great.
It's
Why
fine
not do it? It's like if it makes you more comfortable.
Yeah,
why
if you're
not?
auditioning for the role
That's
on
different.
Broadway, you need to do it in the key. But if you're not, like, the only thing with that stuff is like it does dip down very low. So if you lower the key,
it is quite low.
A problem, especially for young singers. But so maybe sometimes just a section, like the key change doesn't happen the same way. But yeah, we kind of experiment. And sometimes I will pick. We have a recital every year that I now can bring back after COVID. So we've been doing a group song.
Oh, great.
And one of the big group songs was Let It Go, because everyone went so crazy for that song that they would fight me over who would sing in a recital. And I was like, it's going to be a group number. And then I could divide who I thought would sing the line.
Beautiful.
Like that would bring out their best. And it went really well. So maybe it'll be Defying Gravity this year. I don't know.
No, I like that though, because I remember I had one student and they wanted to sing Ness and Dorma and they weren't ready for it. Ooh. So I didn't say no. Mm-hmm. I just was kind of like, we're going to just start with breath work. So you're going to do the whole thing on, that's it. Mm-hmm. And just like building stuff. And by the end of it, she was like, I don't know if I want to do this right now. And I was like, that's your decision. You came to it. That's fine. But I think like finding individuality is something that we're not necessarily taught at that age. It's kind of like you will sing next, like exactly like this, and you will become this voice. Right. So how do you get them to say, this is who you are, little Stephanie or little Natasha, embrace
it's a process. Because the thing is, those, especially young musicians, we have good ears. You know what I mean? We hear we really hear nuance and detail. And so I had a student once who is out singing professionally now, but she did like a letter perfect rendition of a Beyonce song.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, Beyonce did such a great job. And I'm like, what did you do?
Yeah.
And she was like, what do you mean, what did I do? I did all that. I'm like, did you do that? Because Beyonce did that. And then you did it again. And so, and I'm like, and bravo for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Again.
But like in the real world of singing, that was an impersonation. Like, and we listened to a lot of covers of that song. And I'm like, see how this person chose this way, this person chose this way, this person brought out this part of their voice that's really strong.
Nice. Yeah.
And it became more of her version. The other thing too is when singers are younger, she was in high school by then, but singers are younger, it's kind of like, who's going to do a better job at being Cynthia Erivo? You or Cynthia Erivo. I'm like, obviously Cynthia Erivo. Okay, well, who's going to do a better job at being you? Cynthia Erivo? And they're like, no. So it's like, why not play the game that is for you to win?
Yeah.
You know, and then we talk about what are the great parts about their voice. You know, I love how you have this part of your range.
Yes.
You do this really well. Maybe you're really flexible. You can add a riff there, you know. And it's just about like showcasing what they do well. And then it's easier for them too, because they're doing what they do well. So I think that's important to like teach kids what it is they're selling, you know, what's their product. Yeah. And like your product is floaty high notes, like range to the bottom, like ability to mix the registers.
Yes.
And they should know that so they can do that confidently. And I like to check in. I probably need to do it again because I haven't in a while. And I need to check in and be like, do you know what your product is that you're selling? Like, where's your money? I say that to them, where's your money? And they go, and they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, no. Where's your money? And then they go, I guess I have good high notes. I'm like, you have amazing high notes. There's your money. And so it's important to not just critique, like,
yes,
to just not, because people they come in and say, what did I do wrong? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's important to know. And like, as professional singers, it's important to know what we bring and to be proud of that and to be understood that like everyone's got their stuff, you know, everyone's got their thing they're working through, and everyone's got their technique that they don't feel strong enough about.
Yes.
But then there's a technique that you don't think about because you do it so well and someone else is stressed about that. So it's important to just appreciate, be grateful, because we talked about it in my last interview. I lost my voice for like 2 years, year and a half. I couldn't do any of that. So as it was coming back, I was like, oh my God, I really appreciate how I used to be able to do this and now it's coming back. And I have to be careful not to start taking it for granted again, because, you know, one medical event and I'm back there, you know, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I shared it with you. I had a similar thing. So sometimes you're just getting on yourself and you're like, why can't I get this? And then you're like, a couple of years ago, I wasn't sure if I could sing again. Like,
no,
chill,
right.
chillax.
I did that this week. I was like, why can't I build that high? I really tried and blah, blah, blah. I'm working on my subglottal pressure. And I was like, you couldn't sing 2 years ago. Like what are we talking about?
Exactly. And that approach brings a lot more joy, like you're talking about, because you said, I feel like in music school, all it is the jury's going to be like, not you did all this great. It's you did that note. It was not a quarter note. You did a half note.
Yeah, exactly.
And bringing back
and
the
it
joy.
negates you.
Yeah. That's gorgeous. I love that you're doing that with your students. And you have the single coming out. We have Star to look forward to. What are some other things you wanted to do? I know last time you were enjoying watching Bridgerton and getting inspiration from there. What are some other things that inspire you?
That. It's finished. We haven't released it because we're waiting to get permission from the publishers, like Billie Eilish's and
that
the
is
brothers'
the annoying
publishers.
part. Yes,
it's a process, but you really can't do anything until you have that, because they can turn around and say like, it'll cost you $100,000 to use it for this, and then you'd be like, well, I've already used it, so now I'm stuck. So I need to be a little more diligent about that though. Add it to the list
of things. No.
Yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, okay, Bridgerton, that happened. And now I guess it's Temple. And then as I'm trying to be also more inspired by nature, because I think we move about our lives, and then like, you know how the kids say touch grass, like there's something to that. There's really something to that. We need to remember that there's beauty in the world, and there's so much knowledge in that.
Yeah.
And so I was like rushing to a gig during the holidays, and it had just snowed, but it was clear now, so I could drive fine. And then I just realized that like everything was just like beautifully, and like the sun was like sparkly on the snow, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just rushing like a crazy person. I'm like not appreciating this. So I started writing this song called Blanket of White, just like and I'm like, how cheesy to write about the weather, but it is what it is. And
but
that's
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
If it never leaves my living room, it's fine, but I needed to do it. So trying to be a little bit more inspired by like the wisdom in nature.
Yeah.
And just kind of asking things. I've been like asking things like, what do you want to tell me today? And so like in the fall, I had like a wasp in my room. It got in the window or something. And I was like, all right, is care for a reason. And I said, Wasp, what is the message you want to give to me today? And I was able to get it out the top of the window. And it basically was like, we get a bad reputation for like holding our boundaries. And I'm like, yeah. It's like, we're not mean. We just don't want you to come near us, and we will tell you about it. Like,
yes.
And I'm like, that's okay. You can have boundaries. And I'm like, cool. So I need to like, that's song, stuff for later. Like a song about boundaries and like be like the Wasp. Like, so like the simple things, it sounds trite, and like there's so much there. We're looking at big picture and we're getting nothing right now. Yeah. We're not inspired. This is not inspiring. Go little. So, look at a leaf, and be like, what does this leaf have to say to me today? What can you imagine it saying? Mm-hmm. Where does it want to go? Where did it come from? So it sounds so dumb, like saying it out loud, but
it's not though.
The only thing that's working for me. So.
What you said last time that really inspired me, mm-hmm. and it's a hilarious way to put it, and it's the best way to put it. You said, don't be afraid to make crap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Exactly. Like, right. Crap.
Yes. No. Yes. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't allow ourselves to fail, to even try something and be like, okay, this is not for me, mm-hmm. but now I know.
And sometimes the song's bad and I know it, but I finish it anyway. It's like, well, this is just for me.
There's something you needed to get out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it probably leads to something else good that you can like steal later for something good.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think after that, like I went through a period where I wasn't writing very much at all just because I was like out doing stuff. And now I'm like, nope, sit down and do it. So we do what we can. When we can. That's like, I think we're also judgy of ourselves. Like I don't write every day, and I don't, there's all these parameters that people say, if you were really serious, you would. And it's like, yeah, but like the more we like buy into that and be rigid about it, it's not helpful. So it's a nice goal, but we have to live in the world that we live.
Yeah. And I feel like finding your own vision of success, because I remember for mm-hmm. me, I was reading about all these opera singers when I wanted to do that, and I heard this story of Dolores Zajic, and they said sometimes she was homeless while she was pursuing her degree.
No, I didn't even know that.
Yes, and she was like sleeping in the park bench because she didn't have a place to stay. And I read that, and I was like, first of all, I love her to death. She's amazing. Mm. And second of all, I don't want that for myself.
No, of course not.
Like, I think the fact that she was so committed to do it, that's her story, and she's one of the greatest opera singers right now.
Right.
But saying, like, okay, I want a family. I want something a little bit different. And being, okay, so maybe I don't make that. And most of us, we're not going to get to be Beyonce or Delora, but we can make value. We can make ourselves happy, and it's like that's the most mm-hmm. important thing, giving happiness.
I don't know if I said this last time, but I used to love, like I was really big into Rent when I was a kid, you know? And then Jonathan Larson, everything, and Jonathan Larson was very adamant about like you do your art and you do whatever you need to do. But I watched the movie of Tick, Tick, Boom, which was so well done.
My husband loves that, yes.
So well done. Usually the musicals, like the movies of musicals are like, eh. No, I thought it was like a beautiful, wonderful love story, love note to that show. And I realized that song, Why, it used to be my anthem. Like, I'll do whatever I need to do because I'm going to do this. And I realized, like, what that meant for Jonathan Larson. And I was like, there's something that I did that he didn't get to do, and that is turn 40. Yeah. Like, I wasn't willing to do that. And like his going without insurance and like living in the bad apartments, it's like, I'm not judging that. If anybody
if that's your story,
to that, then you need to do that. That's your authentic self. And it never resonated for me. I always felt there was something I could do to have a balance. And I don't have a show on Broadway, which he does, but I lived to be 40 and he didn't. So it's it's about choices and what's important
to you and what gives you joy. Mm-hmm. And like, you have your family, you have your students, and I feel the same way.
I have 2 cats.
Dog mom. So there we go. It makes us happy, you know, and I think that whatever it is, if it is your goal, you have to be on Broadway to be happy. Go
then
for
you need
it.
to do it. Yeah.
You go for it. But I think if you find that your path is just a little bit different, also accept that it's good enough, that you're good enough what you're doing right now. Right.
Yeah.
There's that saying, I think Ciara Baga says it, like, how does it phrase? Like, you're good enough, you are enough. I'm saying it totally wrong. But I will put it on the screen. But it's this beautiful, that's the thing of it, is you are enough. You don't have to keep striving. So thank you. It's always a joy to speak with you.
Of course.
And we're going to get a treat to hear you sing. So everyone, please stay tuned and listen to the absolutely stunning voice of Stephanie Horowitz Mulry.
Thank you.
טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים come together here and now, together in unity, together in harmony. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Together here and now, together in harmony, together in unity. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. instead of pride. The whole world waits while we decide. From this menorah I can't help but feel so powerless. How many more must we lose? And if war's the only answer, are we asking the right questions? Tell me why under the same sky do we justify our worst by saying they had done it first? And tell me how, and when, if not now? Do we finally come together and put differences aside? Maybe then we'll finally see that in God's eyes there are no favorites, there are no sides. There is weeping when God's children by God's teachings don't abide. Is there a point where we're too far gone? Who will fix what we have broken? Maybe this is what we're chosen for. So under this same sky, vow to break down any doors that would put my needs over yours. I don't know how, but starting right now, I am a part of what comes next. I asked to God, what can I do? And God said, care for who is left, not who is right. There are no favorites, there are no sides. Under the same sky, there's only fear